Stevie will like that, Jan, because he's been quite annoyed with the likes of Arteta and Ten Hag telling us why they might struggle to win the league this season. Obviously, Arne Slot hasn't come out and said they're going to win it, but he has said that he's got the players to go out there and do well.
Yeah, and I like this appointment in terms of, you see that Liverpool have done their homework. They needed, maybe it was time, you know, I'm a big fan of Jurgen Klopp, but maybe it was time now to get new impulses into the team. And I think that Arne Slot, it's going to be hard for anyone coming after Klopp, but I think if anybody can do it, is that kind of guy, that kind of personality that Arne Slot has, and that he says, I don't need time on this, because this is a great team. There's a great mixture of young players in the team. There are some winners. There are Salah, there are Van Dijk, there are Alisson, there are two right back, the left back, fantastic, you know, and they got so many goals in there. So he knows where he's at. And that's what my initial point with the two of them, because Arne Slot just says how it is. I don't get time I get time to form the team as I want it, but it's still a great team at Liverpool, and they are expected to challenge for the title this season. Maybe add one or two more to fresh things up. And Arne Slot says it how it is. Not surprisingly, that's the same thing he did in the Dutch Liga. He's a great communicator. What's
interesting, Shaq, obviously, he doesn't have to go and just tear up everything.
Yeah.
Because, as he says, obviously Liverpool were competing last season. It's not a complete and utter disaster that he's taken over. It's having, as a manager, do you have to kind of put your ego aside a little bit and see what you have and not try and just take over everything straight away?
Of course. And I think that's, well, both to his interview, the beauty and the challenge of taking over a club like Liverpool Football Club from a manager as influential as Jurgen Klopp was. I think what also is working, dare I say, in Arne Slot's favour, is kind of what happened to Manchester United post Sir Alex Ferguson. That everybody kind of recognises that when you have an iconic manager like that step away, how difficult it is to transition. So Arne Slot comes in, he's saying all the right things, but everybody's still a little bit cautious as to the direction that Liverpool goes. And to your point, we won't know what direction that is until things get going. But he's saying all the things that I think fans want to hear, and most importantly, players want to hear, that we are good enough, that despite the fall off to the back end of last season, we are good enough to compete with the likes of City and Arsenal who pipped us. So far, so good, but of course we're still a long way from it really mattering.
Yeah, it's really weird having conversations about Liverpool, isn't it? Because we don't quite know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you mentioned earlier on was a manager coming in and not feeling like he has to do too much. And he has to be careful that he doesn't do too much. Because in this case, if he's saying he has the players, the train is already on the rails. You just got to push it down the line and add a few things. Add a little spice, a little flavor to it that would differentiate you from Jurgen Klopp. But not come in and feel like, well, nothing works here. Only my way works, and therefore this is the only way that we're going to win. No, this team was winning before you got here. And so therefore, I think there are two ways in which managers could approach this. Or if you're Arne Slot, you come in and you kind of go, this is a good team. I just have to add pieces. I just have to add value in different places. I got to get Darwin Núñez scoring goals consistently. I got to be able to have a conversation with him and fill him with confidence. Those sort of things. The other way to approach it would be, yeah, that team was winning, but they're going to be even better with my way because that way wasn't good enough last year. And that's a balance that I think and that line that he has to walk. I believe that according to his messaging, early messaging, what you're sensing is he recognizes this is a good team. It's already made. My job is going to be finding the spots in which I can fill in the gaps.
Yeah, but it's always like this when a manager's leaving. Doesn't matter how good the manager is who is leaving. There's always something else that will become better, or there are some energy that will now be loose. And I think Curtis Jones finding that balance, because it's a tough balance, because if he says something that is so good now, or was that bad on the club, and all those kind of things. But what we also know about Arne Slot, that he is a big fan of Pep Guardiola. and Curtis Jones said that now, maybe they will keep the ball a bit more. Having said that, when he was doing his team speeches in Holland, he sometimes uses videos from Liverpool or Klopp's Liverpool. So that is the mixture we're having there. But it's quite interesting now, because this month now, before we start, the 3 weeks time when we start the Premier League or the Bundesliga, all managers are good. All have a great atmosphere. If we win a game, that is fantastic. The friendlies are so good. If we lose, we don't care. We are ready for the Premier League. And that's where we are now. And that's balance Curtis Jones did there. Wow, that should be an Olympic kind of exercise, I think, to find that right balance.
What's Curtis Jones going to say? Oh, I miss Klopp. He was much better than this guy. What's going on? He played it beautifully. In the dressing room, were you laughing at him, by the way?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yes, you are.
Yes.
Yeah. But because it was so good.
Yeah.
To be fair, you're laughing at it because it was so good. He's bad, but you're laughing at it for a totally different reason. Listen, I thought, as Jan says there, I thought Curtis Jones hit that out of the park. He said all the things that you'd want a player to see at this point. And
yeah.
Man, I love you. You're thinking this is, I love you.
Yeah, and the first game of the season he's starting, you play him that video game in the locker room. Here you go, bud.
Exactly. A little apple for the teacher, isn't it?
That's absolutely teacher's pet. Now, the happiest I've been in terms of a style of play. They've only been training for a few days.
But he's happy. He's just walking past Arne Slot's office. I'm happy. I'm happy. Curtis Jones. That's the one.